How's it going, people of YouTube, Facebook, or however you might be tuning in today? Matt here with yet another one of my live streams. Well, I guess I'll address the first thing. I don't think I will be going forward with podcasts at this time. I did some research, weighed in some pros and cons about doing podcasts versus live streams. I find that live streams are a little easier to do. There's no accounts I have to sign up for. I don't have to upload it to several different sharing sites. I've already got YouTube up and running. So I figured, why not just do YouTube for the time being? Tends to be a little easier to use. Of course, I'm rambling on and on and on. But anyways, I guess we'll just get right into it. Looking at my script and what I wrote down. Okay, so guess we'll start out with the fishing report. So as of late, I've been catching a lot of bass. I've been catching walleye. I actually caught a pretty nice catfish. I should say snagged into a catfish. What I have been using recently is I've been using a MEPS makes these number 5. Let's hope that that's the worst thing that happens on this episode. MEPS makes these number 5 pink spinners. There's this one which is called the Black Fury. It's more of an elongated Colorado blade. There's also something called the Angler, which is more of a fatter true Colorado blade, I should say. I've been using both. Seem to have better luck with this Black Fury color during the night, and better luck with the Angler during the daytime. And they seem to really be striking and responding well to pink. I have tried throwing chartreuse. I have tried throwing whites. I am not really seeing a whole lot of luck out here on Lake Wisconsin on anything but pink. I'm also trying other things. I've been trying to throw jerk baits, your jointed wraps, your countdown minnows. There hasn't been too much action on those. Put that back in my tackle box, and I guess now is where I go unscripted. I'll give you a tip of the day. That's on tackle box selection. Now, I think we all have that stereotypical fisherman in the backs of our minds with that big tackle box with every lure known to man. The reality of that situation is that I find that less is more. All you really need to do is just invest in a couple of these guys. Like, I got like 10 of these boxes. And what you do with them is you put all the lures that you think you're going to use in that area. So in this case, I have, you can kind of see it, this is a, I can't even remember the name of it. Well, it's a top water. Jeez, drawing a real blank. So I got top water up here. I got a deep water. I've got some of those MEP spinners I was talking about. Here's a ripstop up here, tangled up with a MEPS. This is going pretty well. I've got a frog bait. I've got a spoon, and I've got a smaller spinner bait. So instead of taking my entire tackle box, I just take this one. This saves weight, saves room. I can pop this into my back pocket, into my hoodie sweater, and I'm good to go. And so, and then what you can do is you get more of these guys, and you just theme them out. Here is an example of my my trout lures. And once again, same story. I'll have a spinner. I'll have a couple of jigs. I'll have a few jointed wraps. I have a crankbait in there, and basically this is I end up using whatever 2 or 3 of them. Doesn't matter how many lures you bring, you always end up using maybe 2 or 3 of them in the end. And so this method allows you to, like I said, just cut down on weight, cut down on space, pop in your back pocket, and you're good to go. So, alright, so I guess the main reason why you're here, I'm going to talk about my guiding career. So, I started out just, I was just playing on the internet one day. I was going through the WDNR website and going through all the different licenses and permits that they offered, and I stumbled across the application to be a guide. So I decided to send in the $40, fill out the application, and a week later I actually got a phone call saying that I was approved. At the time they did phone calls. Well, actually they had to call me up and ask me a couple questions. And so I was then the proud owner of a piece of paper that allowed me to charge people to take them fishing. And to be honest with you, like all of my other business adventures, I had no clue what I was doing when I started. Alright, so my original plan with this guide service was to take people to local creeks and streams where I was living at the time, in which I still live, south central Wisconsin. I also had an idea to take people out on Lacouture up in Hayward, as my family owns property and some boats up there. Thought I could take one of those boats out, take some clients out, and have a blast. Now, Lake Coudray fishing, Lacouture I should say, as it's pronounced properly, the fishing there in the past has been like shooting fish in a barrel. You really couldn't go wrong. Anything you threw out there, they would bite on, regardless of weather conditions, regardless of time of year. You could not go wrong. And so I thought, okay, this would be a great place to start. Now, the first client I had was an older gentleman friend of mine that I had known from my days selling fishing stuff at a flea market. I, at the time, was still selling at a flea market. I talked to him about it, and he said that he wanted to go out on one of my tours. So we made the arrangements. I shot up there. He met me up there, and I took him fishing. So this weekend, this entire weekend, it was easily in the triple digits. It was 90 degrees on a low and easily approaching 100 degrees as a high. And I mean, we could not get anything. I think he hooked into a muskie actually, and he hooked into a bass, and that's all the fish we encountered the entire trip. And that was basically it. I ended up giving him a reduced rate. I basically just asked for compensation for gas, basically, for a price. I think I actually gave him one of the trips for free. And that was the one and only client I ever took out. But I also had other parties approach me, ask about it, including one family approached me at a place I used to work, and they had an older man that had dementia. And what they wanted me to do is they wanted me to take him out on his boat and take him fishing. Around that time, I realized that it was a potential liability suit waiting to happen. I was not really comfortable with taking him out. I didn't know if I would have similar requests in the future. So that was when I started to look into the insurance end of it. I don't remember if I ever got a price quote or where that went, but I knew that I needed insurance. I think, and this is where we transition into the other part of this, and that's the all the things that are required in terms of money. And so one thing you need to factor in is obviously the price of gas. My original rate was, I think, like $100 per 4 hours. And the one client I took out, my gas bill ended up being a good $150 for a 3-trip tour. Boats, you've got to put premium in them. They're not good with that regular ethanol stuff that you put in your cars. That's not good for their engines. You got to put the premium stuff in there. So, and at the time, premium was about $3 a gallon. So you can do the math there. The other thing you have to factor in is you have to factor in your time. Obviously, I think I got, what, maybe $50 for my time in those 3 weeks, those 3 days. So that's another thing you have to factor in. And then I guess on the subject of time, and I'm really jumping around here despite the fact I made a script, is it does take time to develop any business. You gotta make the time to get your word out there. You gotta make the time to answer emails, to answer phone calls, to develop a website, develop a Facebook group, whatever you need to do, even when you're not out on the lake. That interferes with stuff like your current job, your own life, your own fishing time. So there's that. The other thing you have to try and consider is what you're doing as a current job. At the time of doing this, I was working at a sporting goods store. I bet you probably can't guess which one. And I was approached by my human resources and told that it could be a potential conflict of interest. Luckily, I found out the easy way versus the hard way, so I stopped talking about it on the floor. But even when I stopped talking about it, I still had people approaching me. In small town Wisconsin, word gets out fast. I even had a lady at 8:45 at night approach me, and she wants me to take her 8-year-old fly fishing the following morning. So you got to consider that kind of stuff. And I think, and then the other thing you have to consider is after you've made this deal, after you've set the appointment, done all this stuff, met up, there still really is a large portion of sales involved in it after the fact. You may have a client out that's comfortable using spoons, but you're in an area that uses jigs. You have to convince them that this is the lure to use, and the lure that he wants to use is not the right lure. Every lake has its own idiosyncrasy in terms of what works and what doesn't work. And yeah, we get into this rhythm where we get comfortable with something, but then we go to another place and we're basically a fish out of water. So they are relying on you to show them the right stuff to use and the right tactics to use, but at the same time, they don't really want to use the baits that you recommend. In my earlier, in the earlier part of this career, I was going around. I was asking several of my guide friends that I personally know about the guide business. All of them said that it's like glorified babysitting. In a lot of ways it is, and I guess that's what they meant. I think I'm scrolling through here, making sure I covered everything. And I think the question does remain, would I do it again? Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I just really wish I had the time, really wish I had a consistent work schedule. I wish I also had the money to invest into a guide business, because it was actually a lot of fun. Hey, you're getting paid to be out on the water. You're getting paid to show people where the good spots are, how to catch them. It was a lot of fun. It really was. You get to talk fishing. What better career is that than to talk fishing and take people out on the lake? So I guess if you have any ideas as to topics you want me to discuss or stories you want me to tell, please leave comments down below. Leave comments on my Facebook page. I will get to them, and I will hopefully talk about a lot of this stuff. And I guess that will do it for this segment of Matt's World live stream. Until next time, don't forget to click that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to favorite. And until next time, I am Matt Gerloff, signing off. I hope to see you out there.